The Apocrypha, second Esdras. We left off at 7.39 yesterday, so we're going to continue on with 7.40 today. And Ezekias for the people in the time of Sennacherib, and many for many. Even so now, seeing corruption is grown up and wickedness increased, the righteous have prayed for the ungodly. Wherefore shall it not be so now also? And he, Ahiah, answered me and said, This present life is not the end where much glory do abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. Intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that hath gotten the victory. I answered then and said, This is my first and last saying, that it had been better not to have given the earth unto Adam, or else when it was given him to have restrained him from sinning. For what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness, and after that to look for punishment? O thou Adam, what hast thou done? For though it was thou that sinned, thou art not fallen alone, but we all that come of thee. For what profit is it unto us if there be promised us an immortal time, whereas we have done the works that bring death? And that there is promised us an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves, being most wicked, are made vain. And that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas we have lived wickedly? And that the glory of the Most High is kept to defend them which have led a weary life, whereas we have walked in the most wicked ways of all? And that there should be showed a paradise whose fruit endured forever, wherein it is security and medicine, since shall not enter into it? For we have walked in unpleasant places, and that the faces of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, whereas our faces shall be blacker than darkness? For while we live it and committed iniquity, we consider not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. Then answered he me, Ahiah, and said, This is the condition of the battle which man that is born upon the earth shall fight. That if he be overcome, he shall suffer as though he said, but if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say. For this is the life wherefore Moses spake unto the people while he lived, saying, Choose thee life, that thou mayest live. Nevertheless, they believed not him, nor yet the prophets after him, no, nor me, which have spoken unto them, that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction as shall be joy over them that are persuaded to salvation. And I answered then and said, I know, Ahiah, that the Most High is called merciful, in that he had mercy upon them which are not yet come into the world, and upon those also that turn to his law, and that he is patient and long-suffering those that have sinned as his creatures, and that he is bountiful, for he is ready to give where it needed, and that he is of great mercy, for he multiplied more and more mercies to them that are present and that are past, and also to them which are to come. For if he shall not multiply his mercies, the world will not continue with them that inherit therein. And he pardoned for it he did not so of his goodness, that they which have committed iniquities might be eased of them. The 10,000th part of men shall not remain living. And being judged, if he should not forgive them that are cured with his word, and put out the multitude of contentions, there should be very few left peradventure in an innumerable multitude. And he answered me, saying, The Most High had made this world for many, but the world to come for a few. And I will tell thee a similitude, Esdras, as when thou askest the earth, it shall say unto thee that it giveth much mold, whereof earthen vessels are made, but little dust that gold cometh of. Even so is the course of the present world. There be many created, but few shall be saved. So answered I and said, Swallow then down, O my soul, understanding, and devoured wisdom. For thou had agreed to give ear, and art willing to prophesy, for thou hast no longer space than only to live. O my King Ahai, if thou suffer not thy servant, that we may pray before thee, and thou give us seed unto our heart, and culture to our understanding, that there may come fruit of it, how shall each man live that is corrupt, who beareth the place of man? For thou art alone, and we all want workmanship of thine hands, like as thou hast said. For when the body is fashioned, now is the mother's womb, and thou givest it members, thy creatures is preserved in fire and water, and 9 months thy workmanship endureth thy creature which is created in her. But that which keepeth and is kept shall both be preserved, and when the time cometh, the womb preserveth delivered up the things that grew in it. For thou hast commanded out of the parts of the body, that is to say, out of the breast, milk to be given, which is the fruit of the breast, that the thing which is fashioned may be nourished for a time, till thou disposest it to thy mercy. Thou broughtest it up with thy righteousness, and nourished it in thy law, and reformed it with thy judgment. And thou shalt mortify it as thy creature, and quicken it as thy word. If therefore thou shalt destroy him which with so great labor was fashioned, it is an easy thing to be ordained by the commandment, that the thing which was made might be preserved. Now therefore, mighty God Ahia, I will speak, touching man in general. Thou knowest best, by touching thy people, for whose sake I am sorry, and for thine inheritance, for whose cause I mourn, and for Israel, for whom I am heavy, and for Jacob, for whom sake I am troubled. Therefore will I begin to pray before thee for myself and for them, for I see the falls of us that dwell in the land. But I have heard the swiftness of the judge which is to come. Therefore hear my voice and understand my words, and I shall speak before thee. This is the beginning of the words of Esdras before he was taken up. And I said, O Lord, thou that dwell in everlastingness, which beholdest from above things in the heaven and in the air, whose throne is inestimable, whose glory may not be comprehended, before whom the host of angels stand with trembling, whose service is conversant in wind and fire, whose word is true, and sayings constant, whose commandment is strong, and ordinance fearful, who look dried up the depths, and indignation maketh the mountains to melt away, which the truth witnessed. O hear the prayer of thy servant, and give ear to thy petition of thy creature. For while I live I spake, and so long as I have understanding I will answer. O look not upon the sins of thy people, but on them which serve thee in truth. Regard not the wicked intentions of the heathen, but the desire of those that keep thy testimonies in afflictions. Think not upon those that have walked friendly before thee, but remember them which according to thy will have known thy fear. Let it not be thy will to destroy them which have lived like beasts, but to look upon them that have clearly taught thy law. Take thou no indignation at them which are deemed worse than beasts, but love them that always put their trust in thy righteousness and glory. For we and our fathers do language of such diseases, but because of us sinners thou shalt be called merciful. For if thou hast a desire to have mercy upon us, thou shalt be called merciful, to us namely, that have no works of righteousness. For the just, which have many good works laid up with thee, shall out of their own deeds receive reward. For what is a man that thou shouldst take displeasure at him? Or what is a corruptible generation that thou shouldest be so bitter toward it? For in the truth them is no man among them that be born, but he had dealt wickedly, and among the faithful there is none, but which had not done amiss. For in this, O mighty God Ahia, thy righteousness and thy goodness shall be declared, if thou be merciful unto them which have not the confidence of good works. Then answered he me, and said, Some things have thou spoken aright, and according unto thy words it shall be. For indeed I will not think on the disposition of them which have sinned before before judgment, before destruction, but I will rejoice over the disposition of the righteous, and I will remember also their pilgrimage and the salvation of the reward that they shall have. Like as I have spoken now, so shall it come to pass. For as the husbandman sowed much seed upon the ground, and planted many trees, and yet the things that is sown good in his season come not up, neither do all that is planted take root. Even so is it of them that are sown in the world, that shall not all be saved. And I answered then and said, If I have found grace, let me speak. Like as the husbandman's seed perisheth, if it come not up, and receive it not thy rain in due season, or if there come too much rain and corrupt it, even so perisheth man also, which is formed with thy hands, and is called thy own image, because of thou art like unto him, for whose sake thou hast made all things, and liken him unto the husbandman's seed. Be not wroth with us, but spare thy people, and have mercy upon thine own inheritance, for thou art merciful unto thy creature. Bless you. Then answered he me and said, Things present or for the present, and things to come it for such as be to come. For thou comest forth short that thou shouldest be able to love my creature more than I, but I have oftentimes drawn nigh unto thee, and unto it, but never to the unrighteous. In this also thou art marvelous before the Most High, and that thou hast humbled thyself as it becometh thee, and hast not judged thyself worthy to be much glorified among the righteous. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. But understand thou for thyself, and seek out thy glory for such as be like thee. For unto you is paradise open, the tree of life is planted, the time to come is prepared, plenteousness is made ready, a city is built, and rest is allowed, yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. The root of evil is sealed up from you, weakness in the mouth is hid from you, and corruption is fled unto hell to be forgotten. Sorrows are past, and in the end is showed the treasure of immortality. And therefore ask thou no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. For when they have taken liberty, they despise the Most High, thought scorn of his law, and forsook his ways. Moreover, they have trodden down his righteous, and said in their hearts that there is no God, yea, and that knowing they must die. For as the things aforesaid shall receive you, so thirst and pain are prepared for them. For it was not his will that men should come to naught, but they which be created have defiled the name of him that made them, and were unthankful unto him which prepared life for them. And therefore is my judgment now at hand. These things have I not showed unto all men, but unto thee, and a few like thee. Then answered I and said, Behold, O mighty God Ahia, now hast thou showed me the multitude of the wonders which thou wilt begin to do in the last times, but at what time thou hast not showed me. He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is thy very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effect and signs. And every one that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby you have believed, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. Then shall they be in pitiful case which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. For such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me, and they that have loathed my law while they had yet liberty, and when it yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it. The same must know it after death by pain. And therefore be thou not curious how the ungodly shall be punished, and when, but inquire how the righteous shall be saved, whose the world is, and for whom the world is created. And then answered I and said, I have said before, and now do speak, and will speak it also hereafter, that there be many more of them which perish than of them which shall be saved. Like as a wave is greater than a drop. And he answered me, saying, like as the field is, so is also the seed, as the flowers be, such are the colors also, such as the workman is, such also is the works, and as the husbandman is himself, so is the husbandry also, for it was the time of the world. And now when I prepared the world which was not yet made, even for them to dwell in, that now live, no man spake against me. For then every one obeyed, but now the manners of them which are created in this world, that is made or corrupted by a perpetual seed, and by a law which is unsearchable, rid themselves. So I considered the world, and behold, there was peril, because of the devices that were come into it. And I said, and I spared it greatly, and have kept me a grape of the cluster, and a plant of a great people. Let the multitude perish then which was born in vain, and let my grape be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. Nevertheless, if thou wilt cease yet 7 days more, but thou shalt not fast in them, but go into a field of flowers where no house is builded, and eat only the flowers of the field. Taste no flesh, drink no wine, but eat flowers only. And pray unto the highest continually, then will I come and talk with thee. So I went my way into the field which is called Ordath, like as he commanded me, and there I sat among the flowers, and did eat of the herbs of the field, and the meat of the same satisfied me. After 7 days I sat upon the grass, and my heart was vexed within me, like as before. And I opened my mouth and began to talk before the Most High, and said, O mighty God Ahia, thou that showed thyself unto us, thou wast showed unto our fathers in the wilderness, in a place where no man treaded, in a barren place when they came out of Egypt. And thou spakest, saying, Hear me, O Israel, and mark my words, thou seed of Jacob. For behold, I sow my law in you, and it shall bring fruit in you, and you shall be honored in it forever. But our fathers which received the law kept it not, and observed not thy ordinances, and though the fruit of thy law did not perish, neither could it, for it was thine. Yet they that received it perished, because they kept not the thing that was sown in them. And lo, it is a custom when the ground had received seed, or the sea a ship, or any vessel, meat or drink, that being perished wherein it was sown, or cast into that thing also which was sown, or cast therein, or receive it, do perish, and remain it not with us, but with us it had not happened so. For we that have received the law perish by sin, and our heart also which receive it. Notwithstanding, the law perisheth not, but remaineth in his force. And when I spake these things in my heart, I looked back with mine eyes, and upon the right side I saw a woman, and behold, she mourned and wept with a loud voice, and was much grieved in her heart, and her clothes were rent, and she had ashes upon her head. Then let I my thoughts go that I was in, and turned me unto her, and said unto her, Wherefore weepest thou? Why art thou so grieved in thy mind? And she said unto me, Sir, let me alone, that I may bewail myself, and add unto my sorrow, for I am sore vexed in my mind, and brought very low. And I said unto her, What aileth thee? Tell me. She said unto me, I, thy servant, have been barren, and had no child. Though I had an husband 30 years, and those 30 years I did nothing else day and night, and every hour but make my prayer to the highest. After 30 years, mighty God Ahia heard me, thine handmaid, looked upon my misery, considered my trouble and gave me a son, and I was very glad of him. So was my husband also, and all my neighbor, and we gave great honor unto the Almighty. And I nourished him with great travail. So when he grew up and came to the time that he should have a wife, I made a feast. And it so came to pass that when my son was entered into his wedding chamber, he fell down and died. Then we all overthrew the lights, and all my neighbors rose up to comfort me. So I took my rest until the second day at night. And it came to pass, when they had all left off to comfort me to the end I might be quiet, then rose I up by night and fled and came hither into this field and seest. And I do now purpose not to return into the city, but here to stay, and neither to eat nor drink, but continually to mourn and to fast until I die. Then left I the meditation wherein I was, and spake to her in anger, saying, Thou foolish woman, above all others, seest thou not our mourning, and what happened unto us? How that Sion our mother is full of all heaviness, and much humble mourning very sore? And now seeing we all mourn and are sad, for we are all in heaviness, or thou grieve for one son? For ask the earth, and she shall tell thee that it is she which ought to mourn for the fall of so many that grow upon her. For out of her came all at the first, and out of her shall all others come. And behold, thy walk almost all into destruction, and a multitude of them is utterly rooted out. Who then should make more mourning than she, that has lost so great a multitude, and not thou, which art sorry but for one? But if thou sayest unto me, My lamentation is not like the earth's, because I have lost the fruit of my womb, which I brought forth with pains and bare with sorrows, but the earth not so, for the multitude present in it according to the course of the earth is gone, as it came. Then said I unto thee, Like as thou hast brought forth with labor, even so the earth also had given her fruit, namely man, ever since the beginning unto him that made her. Now therefore keep thy sorrow to thyself, and bear with a good courage that which hath befallen thee. For if thou shalt acknowledge the determination of mighty God Ahiah to be just, thou shalt both receive thy son in time, and shalt be commended among women. Go thy way then into the city to thine husband. And she said unto me, That will I not do. I will not go into the city, but here will I die. So I proceeded to speak further unto her, and said, Do not so, but be counseled by me. For how many are the adversaries of Sion? Be confident in regard of the sorrow of Jerusalem. For thou seest that our sanctuary is laid waste, an altar broken down, our temple destroyed. Our upholstery is laid on the ground, our song is put to silence, our rejoicing is at an end. The light of our candlestick is put out, the ark of our covenant is spoiled, our holy things are defiled, and the name that is called upon is almost profaned. Our children are put to shame, our priests are burnt, our Levites are gone into captivity, our virgins are defiled, and our wives ravished, our righteous men carried away, our little ones destroyed, our young men are brought in bondage, and our strong men are become weak. And which is the greatest of all, the seal of Zion had now lost her honor, for she is delivered into the hands of them that hate us. And therefore shake off thy great heaviness, and put away the multitude of thy sorrows, that the Almighty may be merciful unto thee again, and the highest shall give thee rest and ease from thy labor. And it came to pass, while I was talking with her, behold, her face upon a sudden shine exceedingly, and her countenance glistened, so that I was afraid of her, and mused what it might be. And behold, suddenly she made a great cry, very fearful, so that the earth shook at the noise of the woman. And I looked, and behold, the woman appeared unto me no more. But when there was a city builded, and a large place showed itself from the foundation, then was I afraid, and cried with a loud voice, and said, Where is Uriel the angel, who came unto me at the first? For he had caused me to fall into many trances, and my end is turned into corruption, and my prayer to rebuke. And as I was speaking these words, behold, he came unto me, and looked upon me. blessed be his name, Ahia. And lo, I lay as one that had been dead, and my understanding was taken from me. And he took me by the right hand, and comforted me, and set me upon my feet, and said unto me, What aileth thee, and why art thou so disquieted? And why is thine understanding troubled, and the thoughts of thine heart? And I said, Because thou hast forsaken me, and yet I did according to thy words. And I went into the field, and lo, I have seen and yet see that I am not able to express. And he said unto me, Stand up manfully, and I will advise thee. Then said I, Speak on, my Lord, in me, only forsake me not, lest I die frustrate of my hope. For I have seen that I knew not, and heard that I do not know, or is my sense deceived, or my soul in a dream? Now therefore I beseech thee that thou wilt show thy servant of this vision. And he answered me then and said, Hear me, and I shall inform thee, and tell thee wherefore thou art afraid, for thy highest will reveal many secret things unto thee. He has seen that thy way is right, for that thou sorrowest continually for thy people, and makest great lamentation for Sion. This therefore is the meaning of the vision which thou lately sawest. Thou sawest a woman mourning, and thou beganest to comfort her. But now seest thou the likeness of the woman no more, but there appeared unto thee a city built. And whereas she told thee of the death of her son, this is the solution. This woman who thou sawest is Zion, and whereas she said unto thee, even she whom thou seest as a city built. Whereas I say, she said unto thee that she had been 30 years barren, those are the 30 years wherein there was no offering made in her. But after 30 years Solomon built the city, and offered offerings, and then bare the barren a son. And whereas she told thee that she nourished him with labor, that was the dwelling in Jerusalem. But whereas she said unto thee that my son coming into his marriage chamber happened to have a fail and died, this was the destruction that came to Jerusalem. And behold, thou sawest her likeness, and because she mourned for her son, thou beganest to comfort her. And of these things which have chanced, these are to be open unto thee. For now the Most High seeth that thou art grieved unfriendedly, and suffered from thy whole heart for her. So had he showed thee the brightness of her glory, and the comeliness of her beauty. And therefore I bade thee remain in the field where no house was built, for I knew that the highest would show this unto thee. Therefore I commanded thee to go into the field where no foundation of any building was, for in the place wherein the highest beginneth to show his city, there can no man building be able to stand. And therefore fear not, let not thine heart be affrighted, but go thy way in, and see the beauty and greatness of the building, as much as thine eyes be able to see. And then shalt thou hear as much as thine ears may comprehend, for thou art blessed above many other, and art called with the highest, and so are but few. But tomorrow at night thou shalt remain here, and so shall the highest show thee visions of the high things, which the Most High will do unto them that dwell upon the earth in the last days. So I slept that night, and another like as he commanded me. Then saw I a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle, which had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. And I saw, and behold, she spread her wings over all the earth, and all the winds of the air blew on her, and were gathered together. And I beheld, and out of her feathers there grew other contrary feathers, and they became little feathers and small. But her head were at rest, the head in the midst was greater than the other, yet rested it with the residue. Moreover I beheld, and lo, the eagle flew with her feathers, and reigned upon earth, and over them that dwelt therein. And I saw that all things under heaven were subject unto her, and no man spake against her, no, not one creature upon the earth. And I beheld, and lo, the eagle rose upon her, talons, and spake to her feathers, saying, Watch not all at once, sleep every one in his own place, and watch by course. But let the heads be preserved for the last. And I beheld, and lo, the voice went not out of her heads, but from the midst of her body. And I numbered her contrary feathers, and behold, there were 8 of them. And I looked, and behold, on the right side there arose one feather, and reigned over all the earth. And so it was, that when it reigned, the end of it came, and the place thereof appeared no more. So the next following stood up, and reigned, and had a great time. And it happened that when it reigned, the end of it came also like as the first, so that it appeared no more. Then came there a voice into it, and said, Hear thou that hast borne rule over the earth, so long this I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more, there shall none after thee attain unto thine time, neither unto the half thereof. Then arose the third, and reigned as the other before, and appeared no more also. So went it with all the residue one after another, as that every one reigned, and then appeared no more. Then I beheld, and lo, in process of time, the feathers that followed stood up upon the right side, that they might rule also, and some of them ruled, but within a while they appeared no more. For some of them were set up, but ruled not. After this I looked, and behold, the 12 feathers appeared no more, nor the 2 little feathers. And there was no more upon the eagle's body, but 3 heads that rested, and 6 little wings. Then saw I also that 2 little feathers divided themselves from the 6, and remained under the head that was upon the right side, for the 4 continued in their place. And I beheld, and lo, the feathers that were under the wings thought to set up themselves, and to have the rule. And I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, but surely it appeared no more. And the second was sooner away than the first. And I beheld, and lo, the 2 that remained thought also in thyself to reign, or EIGN, reign. And when they saw, thought, behold, there awakened one of the heads that were at rest, namely in it that was in the midst, for that was greater than the 2 other heads. And then I saw that the 2 other heads were joined with it. And behold, the head was turned with them that were with it, and did eat up the 2 feathers under the wing that would have reigned. But this head put the whole earth in fear, and bare rule in it over all those that dwell upon the earth, with much oppression, and it had the governance of the world more than all the wings that had been. And after this I beheld, and lo, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more like as the wings. But there remained the 2 heads, which also in like sort ruled upon the earth, and over those that dwelt therein. And I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured it that was upon the left side. Then I had heard a voice which said unto me, Look before thee, and consider the thing that thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood, and I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle, and said, Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, Art not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? And the 4th came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. For the earth hast thou not judged with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, the kind, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Therefore is thy wrongful dealings come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty, the Almighty. The highest also had looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more, thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body, that all the earth may be refreshed, and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. And it came to pass, whilst the lion spake these words unto the eagle, I saw, and behold, the head of that remained, and the four wings appeared no more, and the two went unto it, and set themselves up to reign, or EIGN, and their kingdom was small and filled of uproar. And I saw, and behold, they appeared no more, and the whole body of the eagle was burnt, so that the earth was in great fear. Then awaked I out of the troubled and trance of my mind, and from great fear, and said unto my spirit, Lo, this hast thou done unto me, in that thou searchest out thy ways of the highest? Lo, yet I am weary in my mind, and very weak in my spirit, and little strength is there in me, for the great fear wherewith I was afflicted this night. Therefore will I now beseech the highest, that he will comfort me unto the end. Excuse me for a second. And I said, My King Ahiah, thy bearest rule, if I have found grace before thy sight, and if I am justified with thee before many others, and if my prayer indeed be come up before thy face, comfort me then, and show me thy servant thy interpretation and plain differences of this fearful vision, that thou mayest perfectly comfort my soul. For thou hast judged me worthy to show me the last times. And he said unto me, This is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. But it was not expounded unto him, therefore now I declare it unto thee. Behold, the days will come that there shall rise up a kingdom upon earth, and it shall be feared above all the kingdoms that were before it. And the same shall 12 kings reign, or EIGN, one after another, whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12, and this do the 12 wings signify which thou sawest. As for the voice which thou heardest speak, and that thou sawest not to go out from the heads, but from the midst of the body thereof, this is the interpretation. That after the time of the kingdom there shall arise great strivings, and it shall stand in peril of failing. Nevertheless, it shall not then fall, but shall be restored again to his beginning. And whereas thou sawest the 8 small under feathers sticking to her wings, this is the interpretation. That in him there shall arise 8 kings, whose time shall be but small, and their years swift. And 2 of them shall perish, the middle time approaching, 4 shall be kept until their end begin to approach, but 2 shall be kept unto the end. And whereas thou sawest 3 heads resting, And whereas thou sawest 3 heads resting, this is the interpretation. In the last days shall the Most High God, mighty God Ahiah, raise up 3 kingdoms, and renew many things therein, and they shall have dominion of the earth, and of those that dwell therein, which much oppression above all those that were before them. Therefore are they called the heads of the eagle. For these are they that shall accomplish his wickedness, and that shall finish his last end. And whereas thou sawest that the great head appeared no more, it signified that one of them shall die upon his bed, and yet with pain. For the 2 that remain shall be slain with the sword, for the sword of the one shall devour the other, but at the last shall he fall through the sword himself. And whereas thou sawest 2 feathers under the wings passing over the head of that is on the right side, it signifieth that these are they whom the highest have kept unto their end, This is the small kingdom and full of trouble, as thou sawest. And the lion whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood and roaring and speaking to the eagle and rebuking her for her unrighteousness with all the words which thou hast heard, this is the anointed, which the highest hath kept for them and for their wickedness unto the end. He shall reprove them and shall upbraid them with their cruelty. But he shall set them before him alive in judgment and shall rebuke them and correct them. For the rest of my people shall he deliver with mercy, those that have been pressed upon by borders, and he shall make them joyful unto the coming of the day of judgment, whereof I spoken unto thee from the beginning. This is the dream that thou sawest, and these are the interpretations. Thou only hast been meet to know the secret of the highest. Therefore write all these things that thou hast seen in a book, and hide them, and teach them to the wise of the people, whose hearts that knowest may comprehend and keep these secrets. But wait thou here thyself yet 7 days more, that it may be showed thee whatsoever it pleases the highest to declare unto thee. And with that he went away. And it came to pass, when all the people saw that the 7 days were past, and I not come again into the city, they gathered them all together from the least unto the greatest, and came unto me, and said, What have we offered thee? And what evil have we done against thee, that thou forsaken us, and sittest here in this place? For of all the prophets thou only are left us, as a cluster of this vintage, and as a candle in a dark place, and as a haven or ship preserved from the tempest. Or not the evils which are come up, Or not the evils which are come to us sufficient? If thou shalt forsake us, how much better had it been for us if we also had been burned in the midst of Sion? For we are not better than they that died there. And they wept with a loud voice. Then answered I them and said, Be of good comfort, O Israel, and be not heavy, thou house of Jacob. For the highest, the most high God, Ahiah, had you in remembrance, and the mighty had not forgotten you in temptation. As for me, I have not forsaken you, neither am I departed from you, but am coming to this place to pray for the desolation of Zion, and that I may seek mercy for the low estate of your sanctuary. And now go your way home, every man, and after these days will I come unto you. So the people went their way into the city, like as I commanded them. But I remained still in the field 7 days, as the angel commanded me, and did eat only in those days of the flowers of the field, and had my meat of the herbs. And it came to pass, after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, the man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of a number from the four winds of the heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet durst fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks of tempest. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flame of breath, and the great tempest. And I fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight. And and the tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Afterwards saw I the same man come down from the mountain, and call unto him another peaceable multitude. And there came much people unto him, whereof some were glad, some were sorry, and some of them were bound, and others some brought of them that were offered. That then was I sick through great fear, and I awake and said, Thou hast showed thy servant these wonders from the beginning, and hast counted me worthy that thou shouldest receive my prayer. Show me now yet the interpretation of this dream. For as I conceive in my understanding, woe unto them that shall be left in those days, and much more woe unto them that are not left behind. For they that were not left were in heaviness. Now understand I the thing that are laid up in the latter days, which shall happen unto them and to those that are left behind. Therefore are they come into great perils and many necessities, like as these dreams declare. Yet is it easier for him that is in danger to come into these things than to pass away as a cloud out of the world, and not to see the things that happen in the last days? And he answered unto me and said, The interpretation of this vision shall I show thee, and I will open unto thee the thing that thou hast required. Whereas thou hast spoken of them that are left behind, this is the interpretation. He that shall endure the peril in that time hath kept himself. They that be fallen into danger, or such as have works and faith toward the Almighty, know this therefore, that they which be left behind are more blessed than they that are dead. This is the meaning of the vision. Whereas thou sawest a man coming up from the midst of the sea, the same is he whom mighty God Ahiah the highest hath kept a great season, which by his own self shall deliver his creature, and he shall order them that are left behind. Blessed be his name, Ahiah. And whereas thou sawest that out of his mouth there came as a blast of wind, and fire, and storm, and that he held neither sword nor any instrument of war, but that the rushing in of him destroyed the whole multitude that came to subdue him. This is the interpretation. Behold, the days come when the Most High God, Ahiah, will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth. And he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the sign shall happen when I show thee before, and then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. Mighty God, Ahiah in the flesh, Yeshua, blessed be his name. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. But he shall stand upon the top of the Mount Zion, and Zion shall come and shall be showed to all men, being prepared and built, like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. And this my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into the tempest. Whoa. And shall lay before them their evil thoughts and their torments, wherewith they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto a flame, and he shall destroy them without labor by the law, which is like unto me. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osei, the king, who saw Manasseh, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took his counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Asareth or Sareth. Then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come, the highest shall stay the springs of the streams again, and they may go through. Therefore sawest thou the multitudes with peace. But those that be left behind of thy people are they that are found within my borders. Now when he destroyed the multitude of the nations that are gathered together, he shall defend his people that remain. Hallelujah. And then shall he show them great wonders. Then I said, O Lord, that bearest rule, show me this. Wherefore have I seen the man coming up from the midst of the sea? And he said unto me, like as thou canst neither seek out nor know the things that are in the deep of the sea, even so can no man upon the earth see my son, or those that be with him be in the daytime. This is the interpretation of the dream which thou sawest, and whereby thou only art here lightened. For thou hast forsaken thy own way, and applied thy diligence unto my law, and sought it. Thy life hast thou ordered in wisdom, and hast called understanding thy mother. And therefore have I showed thee the treasures of the highest. After other 3 days I will speak other things unto thee, and declare unto thee mighty and wondrous things. Then went I forth into the field, giving praise and thanks greatly unto the Most High God Ahiah, because of his wonders which he did in time, and because he governed the same in such things as fall in their season. And there I sat 3 days. And it came to pass upon the 3rd day I sat under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of a bush over against me, and said, Esdras, Esdras. And I said, Here am I, Lord. And I stood up upon my feet. Then said he unto me, In the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses, and talked with him when my people served in Egypt. And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt, and brought him up to the mount of where I held him by me a long season, and told him many wondrous things, and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, These words shalt thou declare, and these shall thou abide. And now I say unto thee, that thou lay up in thy heart the signs that I have showed, and the dreams that thou hast seen, and the interpretations that which thou hast heard. For thou shalt be taken away from all, and from henceforth thou shalt remain with my son, and with such as be like thee, until the times be ended. But for the world has lost his youth, and the times begin to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part. And there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part. Now therefore set thine house in order, and reprove thy people, comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption. Let go from thee mortal thoughts, cast away the burdens of man, put off now the weak nature, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these times. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. For look how much the world shall be weaker through age, so much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. For the time is fled far away, and leasing is hard at hand. For now hasten the vision to come, which thou hast seen. Then answered I before thee, and said, Behold, mighty God Ahiah, I will go, and thou hast commanded me, and reprove the people which are present, but they that shall be born after, whom shall admonish them? Thus the world is set in darkness, and they that dwell therein are without light. For thy law is burnt, therefore no man knoweth the things that are done of thee, or the work that shall begin. But if I have found grace before thee, send thy Holy Spirit unto me, and I shall write all that had been done in the world since the beginning, which were written in thy law, that men may find thy path, and that they which will live in the latter days may live. And he answered me, saying, Go thy way, gather the people together, and say unto them that they seek thee not for 40 days. But look, thou prepare thee many box trees, and take with thee Sariah, Dabria, Selamiah, Akanus, and Asael, these 5 which are ready to write swiftly. And come hither, and I shall light a candle of understanding in thine heart, which shall not be put out till the things be performed which thou shalt begin to write. And when thou hast done, some things thou shalt publish, and some things shalt thou show secretly to the wise. Tomorrow this hour shalt thou begin to write. Then went I forth, and he commanded and gathered all the people together, and said, Hear these words, O Israel. Our fathers at the beginning were strangers in Egypt, from whence they were delivered, and received the law of life, which they kept not, which you also have transgressed after them. Then was the land, even the land of Zion, parted among you by lot. But your fathers and yourselves have done unrighteousness, and have not kept the ways which the highest commanded you. And forasmuch as he is a righteous judge, he took from you in the time the thing that he had given you. And now are you here, and your brethren among you. Therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, you shall be kept alive, and after that you shall obtain mercy. For after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again, and then shall the names of thy righteous be manifest, and the works of the ungodly shall be declared. Let no man therefore come unto me now, nor seek after me these 40 days. So I took the 5 men as he commanded me, and we went into the field and remained there. And the next day, behold, a voice called me, saying, Esdras, open thy mouth, and drink that I give thee to drink. Then opened I my mouth, and behold, he reached me a full cup, which was full as it were with water, but the color of it was like fire. And I took it, and I drank with. When I had drunk of it, my heart uttered understanding, and wisdom grew in my breast, for my spirit strengthened my memory. And my mouth was open and shut no more. The highest, the Most High God, Ahia, gave understanding unto the 5 men, and they wrote the wonderful visions of the night that were told, which they knew not. And they sat 40 days, and they wrote in the day, and at night they ate bread. As for me, I spake in the day, and I held not my tongue by night. In 40 days they wrote 204 books. Wow. And it came to pass, when the 40 days were filled, that the highest spake unto me, the Most High God, Ahia, said, The first that thou hast written publish openly, that the worthy and unworthy may read it. But keep the 70 last, that thou mayest deliver them only to such as be wise among the people. For in them is the spring of understanding, the fountain of wisdom, and the stream of knowledge. And I did so. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people, that the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, said mighty God Ahia, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, let not thy incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, said mighty God Ahia, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness had exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore, said mighty God Ahia, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and the righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. And therefore, said mighty God Ahia, I will surely avenge them, and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundations of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that mighty God Ahijah shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful constellation. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein! For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their king nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able. For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. Behold, said mighty God Ahijah, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another, and repay the things that they have done to them. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Thus says mighty God Ahijah. My right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. The fire is gone forth from his wrath, and hath consumed the foundations of the earth, and the sinners like the straw that is kindled. Woe to them that sin and keep not my commandments, said mighty God Ahijah. I will not spare them. Go your way, ye children, from the power, defile not my sanctuary. For mighty God Ahijah knoweth all them that sinned against him, and therefore delivered he them unto death and destruction. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and you shall remain in them. For mighty God Ahijah shall not deliver you, because you have sinned against him. Behold, an horrible vision and appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Cormanian raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. With great power shall they come, and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled, bled, and kept silence through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them, and in their host shall be feared and dread, and strife among their kings. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north upon the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly, and dung shit of men unto the camel's hue. And there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and tremble shall come unto them. And then shall there come great storms from the south, and from the north, and another part from the west, and strong winds shall arise from the east, and shall open it, and the cloud which is raised up in wrath, and the star stirred to cause fear toward the east and west wind, shall be destroyed. The great and mighty cloud shall be puffed up full of wrath, and the star, that they may make all the earth afraid, and them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out over every high and eminent place an horrible star, fire and hail and flying swords, and many waters, that all fields may be full, and all rivers with the abundance of great waters. And they shall break down the cities and the walls, mountains and hills, trees of the wood and grass of the meadows, and their corn. And they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid. They shall come to her and besiege her, the star, and all wrath shall they pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and smoke go up unto the heaven, and all they that be about her shall bewail her. And they that remain under her shall do service unto them that have put her in fear. And thou Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person, woe be unto thee, that wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore said mighty God Ahiah, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thine houses with destruction and death. And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower, that heat shall arise that is sent over thee. Thou shalt be weakened as a poor woman with stripes, and as one chastened with wounds, so that the mighty and lovers shall not be able to receive thee. Would I with jealousy have so proceeded against thee, said mighty God Ahiah? If thou hast not always slain my chosen, exalting the strokes of thy hands, and saying over their dead when thou wast drunken, set forth the beauty of thy countenance, the reward of thy whoredom shall be in thy bosom, therefore shalt thou receive recompense. Like as thou hast done unto my chosen, said a mighty God Ahiah, even so shall mighty God Ahiah do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief. Thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy cities shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. They that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh, and drink their own blood, for very hunger of bread and thirst of water. Thou as unhappy shall come through the sea, and receive plagues again, and in the passage they shall rush on the idol city, and shall destroy some portions of thy land, and consume part of thy glory, and shall return to Babylon that was destroyed. And thou shalt be cast down by them as stubble, and they shall be unto thee as fire, and shall consume thee in thy cities, thy land, and thy mountains, and thy woods, and thy fruitful trees shall be burned up with fire. Thy children shall they carry away captive, and look what they has. They shall spoil it, and mar the beauty of thy face. Woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. Gird up yourselves with cloths and sack and hair. Bewail your children, and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. A sword is set upon you, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? May any man drive away an hungry lion in the wood? Or may any one quench the fire in stubble when it had begun to burn? May one turn again the arrow that is shot of a strong archer, that mighty God Ahiah sendeth the plagues, and who is he that can drive them away? A fire shall go forth from his wrath, and who is he that may quench it? He shall cast lightnings, and who shall not fear? He shall thunder, and who shall not be afraid? Then mighty God Ahiah shall threaten, and who shall not be utterly beaten to powder at his presence? The earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof. The sea ariseth up with waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also before the King Ahiah, and before the glory of his power. For the strong is at hand, and bendeth the bow, and his arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. Behold, the plagues are sent, and shall not return again until they come unto the earth, upon the earth. The fire is kindled, and shall not be put out till it consume the foundations of the earth. Like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer, returning not backward, even so the plagues that would be sent upon earth shall not return again. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of the sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of their scourges. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon the earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, as shit, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. There shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men, so that one man shall desire to see another, and to hear his voice. For of a city there shall be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks, as in an orchard of olives. Upon every tree there are left 3 or 4 olives. Or as when a vineyard is gathered, there are left some clusters of them that diligently seek through the vineyard. Even so in those days there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search the houses with sword. And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorn, because no man shall travail therethrough. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. The daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the war shall their bridegroom be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Hear now these things, and understand them, you servants of mighty God Ahiah. Behold, the word of mighty God Ahiah, receive it. Believe not the gods of whom Ahiah spake. Behold, the plagues draw nigh, and are not slack. And when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth great pains compass her, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. Of my people hear my word, make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. He that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. He that occupied merchandise as he that had no profit by it, and he that builded as he that shall not dwell therein. He that soweth as if he should not reap, so also he that planted the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. They that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers. And therefore they that labor in vain, for strangers shall reap their fruit, and spoil their goods, overthrow their houses, and take their children captives. For in captivity and famines shall they get children. And they that occupy their merchandise with robbery, the more they deck their cities, their houses, their possessions, and their own persons, the more will I be angry with them for their sin, said mighty God Ahiah. Like as a whore envieth a right, honest, and virtuous woman, so shall righteousness hate iniquity, when she decketh herself, and shall accuse her to her face, when he cometh that shall defend him that diligently seeketh out every sin upon the earth. And therefore be you not like thereunto, nor to the works thereof, for yet a little while, for yet a little, and iniquity shall be taken away out of the earth, and righteousness shall reign among you. Let not the sinner say that he had not sinned, for mighty God Ahiah shall burn coals of fire upon his head, which said before mighty God Ahiah and his glory, I have not sinned. Behold, mighty God Ahiah knoweth all the works of men, their imaginations, their thoughts, and their hearts, which spake but the word, let the earth be made, and it was made, let the heaven be made, and it was created. In his word were the stars made, and he knoweth the number of them. He searcheth the deep and the treasures thereof, and he had measured the sea and what it containeth. He had shut the sea in the midst of the waters, and with his word hath he hanged the earth upon the waters. He that spreadeth out the heavens like a vault upon the waters had he founded it, and in the desert had he made springs of water and pools upon the tops of the mountains, that floods might pour down from the high rocks to water the earth. He made man and put his heart in the midst of the body, and gave him breath, life, and understanding. Yeah, the spirit of Almighty God Ahiah, which made all things, and searcheth out all hidden things in secret of the earth. Surely he knoweth your inventions, and what you think in your hearts, even them that sin and would hide their sin. Therefore had he, mighty God Ahiah, exactly searched out all your works, and he will put you all to shame. And when your sins are brought forth, you shall be ashamed before men, and your own sins shall be your accusers in that day. What will you do, or how will you hide your sins before mighty God Ahiah and his angels? Behold, mighty God Ahiah himself is the judge. Fear him, leave off from your sins, and forget your iniquities, to meddle no more with them forever. So shall mighty God Ahiah lead you forth, and deliver you from your trouble, from all trouble. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you, and feed you, being idle, with things offered unto idols. And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach, and trodden under foot. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear mighty God Ahiah. They shall be like mad men, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear mighty God Ahiah. For they shall waste and take away their goods, and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen. And they shall be tried as the gold in fire. Hear, O you, my beloved, said mighty God Ahiah, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. But you not afraid, neither doubt, for your mighty God Ahiah is your guide. And the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, says mighty God Ahiah, let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. Woe be unto them that are bound with their sins and covered with their iniquities, like as a field is covered over with bushes, and the path thereof covered with thorns, that no man may travel through. It is left undressed, and it is cast into the fire to be consumed wherewith. And that's the end of 2nd Esdras, the King James Version, 1611. Thank you for listening.